Hi everyone, my name is Michael and I want to welcome you to my first ever video tutorial. In this tutorial we will be installing Microsoft Dynamics CRM 2015 and SQL Server 2014. Microsoft Dynamics CRM is an Active Directory based system which also requires us to have the DC, a domain controller with Active Directory services. I'm going to assume that you already have this in your organization or in your test environment, wherever you are installing it. So the focus will be only on Microsoft Dynamics CRM and the SQL installation. We will be using 3 virtual machines in this tutorial: the domain controller, CRM server, and the SQL server, on which we will install the SQL very shortly. In the video description you can find all the download links of all the setup files I'm using, so you can download it and try it yourself. And that's it. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is set up the SQL server. We're going to go to the installation. As you can see, I downloaded the SQL Server 2013 Evaluation Edition from Microsoft website. You can mount it, run setup. We're going to go to installation and we're going to choose New SQL Server Standalone Installation. We're going to choose the Evaluation Edition, accept the license terms. You're being asked here to check for updates. If you want to check for updates, I'm not going to do it now because it's just a test environment. If you're installing a production environment, I would definitely advise you to check it. Alright, I'm going to click next. Here we're going to choose SQL Server feature installation. What you want to choose here would be the database engine services, full text, reporting services, which is mandatory also for CRM, and we would want to install the management studio. I'm not going to change the instance root directory or any of the other paths or folders. We'll just leave it as is and click next. I'm going to stay here with the default instance. Okay, so here you are being asked for the service accounts, if you want to provide service accounts. Best practice is to provide service accounts. It has better security options, better maintenance options. It's a better way to install SQL Server. So we're going to head to the domain controller and create those accounts. We're going to create them here. We're going to create 2 accounts. One will be SQL SVC for the SQL Server. When creating service accounts, you always want to choose password never expires. We're going to create another one for the reports. We call it SSRS SVC. Click next. And finish. Alright. We're going to head back to the installation. We can leave the SQL Server agent without change. What we are going to change is the database engine. Provide the password and the reporting services. We're gonna hit next. I'm going to stay with the Windows authentication mode. I don't really need the SQL Server authentication mode because CRM is not using it. I'm going to add the current user, which is the domain admin, to the SQL Server administrators. As I said before, I'm not going to change the data directories. In a production environment, it would be highly recommended to change them to separate disks, separate physical disks. This will give you better I/O performance. But this is a test environment, so we're not going to change anything. We're gonna click next. Install and configure. This is the reporting services. So you're gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna hit next. And we're almost there. I'm gonna click next. That's it. So depending on your hardware, this might take between 5 minutes and maybe 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop it here, and we're gonna get back when it's finished. Okay, so we are done. Everything is green and the installation is completed successfully. You can close all those windows. So once the installation is completed, what you want to do is check if it's working. You should start the SQL Server Management Studio. You can connect by writing either a dot or the server name here or the IP address. Click connect, and if you're in, means that it's good. You can close it. Another thing that you should make sure that is working properly are the reports. So for that, we're gonna go to the SQL Server Reporting Services Configuration Manager. We're gonna start it. Also, click connect. Go to the web service URL. Click the link here, and that's it. This is what you should get. You can close it, and we can start the CRM installation. So now we are going to head to the CRM server. Just like SQL, you can download the trial version. You can find the links in the video description. The file that you're downloading will look like that. You're going to double click it, and it's going to extract the installation files to a folder you choose. Okay, I'm going to extract it, let's say CRM 2015. Okay, so this is the window we're going to get when it's done. You always want to get updates. Microsoft sometimes releases updates for the installation file, so it is recommended for you to get those. I'm going to click next. There are no updates here. It's a pretty new installation, the CRM 2015, so there are still no updates for it. Okay, so here we are asked to provide the product key. You can download trial product key that is valid for 90 days from the Microsoft website. As you can see, it states here that it will last for 90 days. We're going to click next, accept the license agreement. Okay, so here are some of the prerequisites. Microsoft will install them automatically if you have an internet connection. If you don't have an internet connection, it can get a little tricky. You will need to use either the ISO, the official ISO of the installation, or you will need to build a library with all the prerequisites pre-downloaded. You don't really want to get into it, so make sure you have internet connection. We're going to hit install. Okay, we're done. Click next. You can leave the default installation directory Gonna click next. Okay, so here we have the CRM server roles. We are doing a very basic installation here. It's a single server, single CRM server with one SQL server. We're gonna leave all those roles on this server. When installing a production environment, you might want to split those roles on multiple servers. It can provide high availability, better performance, but this is a basic installation we're doing here, so we're gonna have all these roles on one single server. We're gonna click next. Here we are being asked to provide the SQL server name, which in our case is SQL. We're going to create a new deployment, and if you're connecting to an existing deployment, you will want to pick the second option. We're going to click next. This is the Active Directory part of the installation. CRM works with an organization unit. It is recommended to use a dedicated organization unit, so we're going to create it now. We're going to go to the Active Directory server. We're going to create an OU. You can create it wherever you want. It's not really important. We're going to call it CRM 2015. Okay. Now it's very important that the user you are installing the CRM with, in my case it's a domain admin, so I have all the permissions, but if you're using a regular user, you will need to provide this user with permissions on the OU. I'm going to show it to you, although I don't need those because I'm a domain admin. I'm going to show it to you in case you will be installing it with a user that is not a domain admin. So you want to delegate control on the OU. I'll click next, add. You're gonna type your username here. The permissions you'll need here is create, delete, and manage user accounts, read all user information, create, delete, and manage groups, and modify membership of a group. You're gonna click next and finish. You will also need to provide the security permissions. You're going to add your user, and he will need read, write, and create and delete all child objects. Yeah, that's it. So we're going to head back to the CRM installation. We're going to click browse, and we're going to choose the OU we just created. Okay, so here we are asked for the service accounts for the installation. In a production environment, I would advise you to use a different service account for each service. It's kind of annoying because there are a lot of here, but this is the best practice for the installation. In our case, because it's test environment and because I'm lazy, we're just going to use one service account, which I will now create. So we're going to call it CRM SBC. Remember to click password never expires. Also remember that it is very important to give a complex password here, because those are very sensitive accounts. You don't want them to get hacked. We're going to get back to the installation here, and we're going to type the user here that I just created. Don't mind my funny domain name. Okay, so we're gonna click next. So here you are asked for the port, the website, and the port that you want to install CRM onto. We're going to use the default website, which is port 80. If you want, you can create a new website, choose a port for it, whatever you like. For me, the default website is always the better solution. So I'm going to click next. Here you are being asked for the email router server. We are not going to install an email router. Email router is a service that provides you with we'll call it synchronization between your Exchange server and the CRM deployment, but this is not a part of our tutorial, so I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to click next. Here is the display name for our organization that will be created in the CRM, so we're going to call it a test. Here you can choose your currency, and you can choose the SQL collection. You don't really need to mess with this. So we're going to click next. This is the reporting services URL we checked earlier. It is a good idea to validate that you can access it. Yep, that's good. And click next. We don't really want to help out Microsoft here, so we're going to leave it blank. Going to click next. Now this, I would recommend you not to use it, because what it basically says that that the Windows will automatically download updates for CRM, and those updates are sometimes really sensitive. They change stuff in the deployment, and you really want to be in control of it. You don't want those things to happen automatically. So I always choose that I don't want to use Microsoft Update, and when I hear that there's a new update, I'm downloading it myself and I check it in a test environment first. So we're gonna hit here, I don't want to use Microsoft Update. We're gonna click next. So those are all the validations. We have some errors, which is good. I'm going to show you how to fix those. So the first thing we have here is the SQL agent. To fix this, we're going to go to the SQL Server. On the SQL Server, we will go to Services, go to the SQL Server agent, start it, go back to the CRM server. Now this message basically says that our service account does not have the performance counter permissions. So to fix that, we will go to the edit local users and groups. We'll go to groups. We'll go to performance log users, and we will add the user that we used as the service account. Hit apply, hit back, next, and we are good to go. So this warning says that data encryption will be active after the install, and this says that we are using a very highly privileged account for our services as a service account, but that's okay because this is a test environment, so we don't have a problem with this. So we'll hit next, again next, and install. So this is going to take a couple of minutes, and we'll be back when it's done. Okay, so the installation completed successfully. Click finish, close everything. So the first thing you want to do after installation completes is to check your deployment. So you're going to go to Start, write Deployment Manager, start it. Then go to Organizations, and here you will see the organization that was created during the installation. Right click it and browse, and that's it. You have CRM up and running. You can play around with it, and this is basically the installation process. This is what you need to know. Now there's one more thing that needs to be fixed before we can finish up everything, and this is this little message here that we're getting. This might cause issues with the reports, with the CRM reports. I'm going to show you how to fix this. We're going to close it. We're going to go back to the installation files that we extracted before we started the installation. Those. You're going to need to install this. This is the SRS data connector. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy it to the SQL Server. It needs to be installed on the SQL Server. Alright, we're gonna go now to the SQL Server. So this is the installation. We're gonna run the setup. We're gonna try and get updates, although I don't think there are any. Click next. So here you are being asked to type in the SQL Server name that holds the configuration database. In our case, it's just SQL. Click next. You can leave it as is. Gonna make some checks. Okay, then you click next, next, install. Once this is done, you can click finish. Get back to the CRM server. Start the deployment manager. And as you can see, this error message is no longer here. And that is pretty much it. Very simple, a very basic installation. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, you can write them down and I will be happy to answer if I'm able to. And hopefully I will see you in my next video tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye.